We have two interesting sessions this morning that I had put in first to be able to chair this session because I think it's great. The title is extensions. That's Patrick came up with that. Uh, but the reason it's called that is because this is taking original things, in this case, blues recordings that are being recontextualized by newer or later singers or performers. And the sound shorts are basically uh, bands and concerts and performers being now preserved for people to watch into the future. And we have a really rare opportunity today. So we're going to start with Roberta Freund Schwartz. She's an associate professor of musicology at the University of Kansas and has areas of specialization in the music of the Renaissance and African American music. Her areas of research interest include the early, excuse me, music of Spain, musical patronage, transnational interpretations of African American music, blues, and rock and roll. She is the author of How Britain Got the Blues, which won the 2008 ARSC Award for Best Historical Writing on the Blues. Her monograph, The City Style, Blues, The Great Migration, Black Urban Culture, and the Creation of African American popular music before World War II, see that on the spine of a book in the library, is forthcoming from the University Press of Mississippi. Couple of announcements. Number one, for those that don't know me, I'm Steve Ram. Been an ARSC member since 1977, I guess it was. Been treasurer for 1993. This afternoon will end my term there and go back to normal life. Uh, Curtis wanted to remind everybody that their silent auction still has things with no bids. You want to put $1 on it? Put $1 on it. Go home with a bargain, and maybe you'll learn something new there. I will also mention now and mention again at the end of the Roberta's presentation that during the second half of the hour of the shorts, uh, the those that are zooming in with us and doing it virtually, unfortunately, will not be able to see that. And we request that nobody record video, audio, etc. We were given special permission, or Mark was given special permission by Universal. Unlike the soundies and things he's shown in the past, these are not public domain. So please abide by that. And if we see anybody doing it, we'll politely ask you to stop or leave the room. So I'll turn this over to Roberta, and thank you.
In 1930, the transmission of blues songs was largely via recordings. Records thus created a common repertoire that proliferated simultaneously in black communities, with both rural and urban musicians responding to shared sources. As a result, artists began commenting or signifying on earlier recordings, an extension of African American rhetorical culture and practice into a new medium. Signifying is a form of wordplay rooted in Black culture, a phrase coined by Henry Louis Gates in his 1988 book, The Signifying Monkey, hence the G in parentheses. And just do a quick 30-second semiotics. So when I say cat, what do you picture in your head? A cat. We're not all visualizing the same cat. Now, think of your web of associations that you would connect to the image of a cat. It's getting at the idea of signifying. But in Black culture, signifying can involve playing the dozens, a ritual game of insults, testifying, calling out your name, and boasting. It's practices like coded language and double entendre, unlikely to be recognized by outsiders. All are well represented in the blues, as are figurative associations evoked by referencing, reinterpreting, and responding to previous texts. Musically, though, signifying can take on a number of other dimensions. Along with transforming or troping existing songs, the use of accompaniments, melodies, characters, or titles from recordings might reframe the original work in a different musical context, infuse the new creation with additional layers of meaning, or indicate hidden subtexts. So, what follows is just a sampling of some of my favorite examples of this practice. So, an example of using a melody to frame a work is Monkey Joe's hair parted in the middle. I gotta get it. So, what that phrase means is obscure, though the context hints that it's something suggestive. Unless we recognize that the melody being used is that of the venerable Blue Blues Sweet Petunia or Sweet Petuni. I got a gal, got a Rolls Royce, you can't get off. You and her boys, I'm wild about my tuning. Only thing I crave. So, meaning becomes clear. He is not talking about the hair on his head. Though a signifier might have various meanings based on the perception of the listener. And Big Bill Brunzi's You Can't Win is a great example. Now, don't you know, oh, that crime don't pay. Why, you may be slick on, but out of style you can't get away. You can't win. No, you can't win. It don't matter how you try. Did anybody hear that is sitting on top of the world? Okay. So if that's the melody we refer to, this is extremely ironic. However, if what Brunzi had in mind was Leroy Carr's You Got to Reap What You Sow, it's reinforcing the message. So depending on how we hear that, the reference can mean a couple of different things. Cow Blues, the signature boogie woogie of Charles Cow Davenport, has been repurposed a number of times for songs with train themes. Roosevelt Sykes employs the boogie woogie as the accompaniment to his cannonball. Now wake up, little girl, let me tell you where I've been so long. Oh, in Cincinnati during that Saturday long, you better iron my jammer, sit on them, oh. I'm fixing to grab that train. People call a cannonball. However, Sykes is borrowing more than just the accompaniment. That refrain actually comes from the or version of the piece, which started out as the accompaniment to the song Cow Blues, sung by Davenport's vaudeville partner Dora Carr. Get the idea. Corporal Clarence Lofton uses just the accompaniment for his streamlined train. Dora Carr will be heard. Okay, now, Corporal Clarence Lofton. Signifying can also involve quoting and referencing recordings and reinterpreting them in new ways, often adding a level of humor or irony. Louise Johnson's On the Wall isn't about a train, though she does mention going to Memphis. Here she's using the melody associatively, associating the motion of the train with vertical copulation. Signifying might also include just a title. Big Bill Brunzi's Sad Pencil Blues and Johnny Temple's Lead Pencil Blues use listeners' familiarity with Bo Carter's imagery from My Pencil Won't Write No More to spin out further tales of, let's call it, writing implement failure.
I woke up this morning, my baby said she might have mad. I was late in my pencil, it's done gone bad. Late in my pencil, it's done gone bad.
Roosevelt Sykes, on the other hand, contrasts these failures with, let's call it, his superior penmanship. They're not all dirty, I swear. Which is ironic because let's now talk about Tricks Ain't Walking No More. Lucille Bogan's song about sex workers who cannot make a living during the Depression. Cursor.
I can't make my name for no more.
Buddy Moss, through his title, evokes Lucille Bogan's song. Its version is a reworking of its mentor Blind Willie McTell's Trixie, which is also a commentary on Bogan's song. But Moss's slower delivery clarifies the song's punchline. Songs ain't walking no more because the women have now found men to take care of them.
Strictly walking no more, baby. Stay away from my door. Two fat women in the shade. Waiting on the one that the monkey is made. So strictly walking no more.
Street Walking Blues by the Washboard Rhythm Kings is thematic relationships with sex workers. To it, they were never home at night. And while that's only vaguely related, a quotation of Bogan's melody in Arnett Nelson's clarinet solo possibly relates the figure in question to the character of her song. Curtis Jones quotes Bogan's lyrics and title in Little Jivin' Woman, an extended response to a proposition that, interestingly, advises the sex worker she might find another line of work. Answer songs, too, can be a method of signifying, creating a rhetorical dialogue with the original work, playing on or contravening its original intent, presentation, or style. For example, Memphis Minnie's Jockey Man Blues is a reworking of Kokomo Arnold's hit Milk Cow Blues, which you can see is the greatest song ever recorded.
Take these around with a number to find my food. But I don't feel welcome. Don't be cycle.
Minnie's Jockey Band Blues answers Arnold's comments about his lover with those of her own. In homage, she retains the melody, form, and style right down to his enthusiastic arhoolies.
A jogger. Take a bunny field, get powerful. Take my love, cause I know you're welcome.
Schoolboy Blues by Streamline May, also known as St. Louis Bessie Smith, is a pointed response to Sonny Boy Williams's Good Morning Little Schoolgirl. Cursor. Can you go back, please? I do that. There we go.
Come on and be my babe. I'll buy you a down. I'll buy you a down. Right? Why if you don't be my little woman, and I won't buy you a doggone thing.
May, on the other hand, let's say, takes the rhetorical consequences for infidelity just a bit further.
If you do as I tell you, I swear you can't go. I swear you can't go wrong. But if you don't do like I tell you, so that won't last you long.
Red, recorded by the Harlem Hamfats in 1936, was a seismic hit that was covered and contrafacted by multiple artists. Though the one I find the most fascinating is Oh Red, but let's listen to
Oh, red, which was dead. Oh, red, which was dead. I'm sick and tired, rubbing my baby's head.
with the example of an odd Oh Mose, which is just Oh Red with a different name. The only other to vary is Washboard Sam's Oh Joe, which directs the song back to its original composer, Kansas Joe McCoy. McCoy's former wife, Memphis Minnie, had just remarried and started recording with her new husband, Ernest Little Son Joe Lawlers. Given this context, it's hard to hear the lyrics as anything except a message for McCoy to just move on. Cover songs and new versions of other artist recordings signify by calling out demonstrating process by replicating a respected work or through combining disparate subjects and styles. While some of the versions differ, Charlie Jordan's Just a Spoonful is both an homage to Charlie Patton's Spoonful Blues and proof that he could duplicate the Delta guitar legend's dexterous style.
Wanna fight bottom? All right, man. Get Craig never going for.
Get Your Mind Out of the Gutter started as a vaudeville bit, essentially. Originally recorded by Pigbeat Pete, who's Wesley Wilson under a pseudonym, and his partner Cat Juice Charlie. Sorry, I've lost my cursor again. Here we go.
Last night about 4:30. Not funny noise in the room next door. Give it to me, Daddy, I want it. Don't give it to me, you big thing. That's fine, I got it.
On the other hand, Jimmy Gordon takes this old vaudeville bit and, by stylistically recasting it, makes it a hip urban jump blues.
Don't give it to me, you make me get your mind.
Signifiers might also create a dialogue between different musical styles and artists, allowing listeners to enter a musical conversation by recognizing the source material and artists' interpretations. For example, Tampa Red's Worried Devil Blues is a fairly conventional number in the singer's sophisticated style until we get to the refrain.
That
And then,
okay.
I had to cut that short. That goes on for no lie 30 seconds. So, obviously taking on the famed blue yodeler on his own terms. Fine Boy Fuller and Aziz Al Regs a number of levels. The melody and the chorus are from the 1925 pop song 5'2". However, his use of the name Karina evokes the song Kareen Karina, in which the protagonist inquires where his Karina's been. Fuller inserts his take basically in the middle of the story, actively looking for his missing gal. And I want you to listen very closely. Second time you hear this, you'll hear a yeah. We'll get to that in a second. That yeah happens to be the signature interjection of Tampa Red. Thus setting us up basically to hear the next strophe as related to Tampa Red's most famous hit, It's Tight Like That.
I got to get long and slim. It's under
Which is more or less a line from It's Tight Like That. Casey Bill Weldon's Walking in My Sleep also has multiple associations, fusing a traditional fiddle breakdown, Walking in My Sleep, with a variant of the cheeky respond from Don Albert and his orchestra's version of the Sheik of Araby with no pants on. As the existing copy of Casey Weldon's is not great, we're going to listen to Washboard Sam's cover version. Musicians also sanctified on sacred songs. When I Take My Vacation in Harlem is Tampa Red's play on the white gospel tune When I Take My Vacation in Heaven. First recorded in 1927 by Ruth Donaldson and Helen Jepson, and again in 1930 by Mother McCullum's Sanctified Singers, which is the version that I could find. Tampa Red, though, reframes those first lines and also listen for the Cab Calloway Heidi Heidi.
when I take my vacation in Harlem. What a hell of a time it will be with the rhythm of that Harlem Heidi Heidi and the gal that I know care for me.
Lil Johnson's Down at the Old Village Store satirizes the Pentecostal and ecstatic worship proliferating in storefront churches in black urban enclaves. And just a little sample from Mother McCullum's Glory, Glory, Hallelujah establishes that she nails the style as well.
Glory, free, hallelujah, free, hallelujah. They say, they dirty each other, and that old silly soul. You holy, rolling our sisters and brothers and our sins on the floor.
In a few cases, Signifying on blues records takes on true aspects of the dozens. Wallaby Slim recorded No Good Woman Blues in February 1935, and Petey Wheatstraw covered the title a year later. The pair tried to settle the battle for primacy in the duet No Good Woman, Fight Blues, which opens with a scripted dialogue assuming that both songs were about the same woman.
Love that woman, and you love her too. You're a man, and I'm a man. And you've been talking all over town. What you gonna do with it? Well, now what you gonna do about it?
The pair trade ostros, with Wheatstraw largely willing to let the matter lie, but Slim incessantly needles Wheatstraw in his.
Well, is that your woman? You bet me how if she ever flag my trail, I know I'm gonna let her ride.
So the absolute Cadillac of examples of dozens in the blues that are not literally recordings of the dozens are the two Jivin songs, Jivin' Big Bill Blues and Jivin' Blind Boy Fuller, or Jivin' Mr. Fuller Blues. And Fuller signifies on a couple of levels. His lyric can exploit a line from the chorus of Brunzi's 1936 Big Bill Blues.
My baby left me. She left me broken down. She said goodbye, big girl, we'll see you in another town. Now you know I'm lonesome. Where these blues keep dogging me.
That unnamed town is incredibly important. However, Fuller doesn't use that melody. Instead, he's using his own "somebody's been playing with that thing," which adds another level of subtext.
We're down in that old town that you call Tennessee. Fayetteville women went crazy over me. I said, Lord have mercy. Big, what you going to do? Did I look my baby? Did that make you so worried? And
What I find really fascinating is I can find no evidence that these two ever met personally. So, why the song? Might be because Fuller's earlier track, called Jiving Blues, is a direct reworking of Big Bill Blues. So, maybe it's a call out, maybe it's a gesture of respect, or maybe that ribbing is calling out another popular artist. But having thus been called out, Prunzi has really only one logical response, and that's to clap back.
I'm going to North Carolina. Wow. Put my every woman in town. Oh, Mr. God, boy, what you gonna do?
There is, in fact, a third version by Washboard Sam that doesn't jive directly at anybody but evokes both of the songs simultaneously. While contemporary listeners would have recognized the most obvious forms of signifying on blues records, like double entendre, opaque language, and references to well-known hits like Let's Get Drunk and Truck or What's That Taste Like Gravy, it's funny if satirized versions of the Dirty Dozens, but they may not have recognized the internal dialogue between records. For example, few who heard both versions would have failed to hear that Memphis Minnie's Me and My Chauffeur uses the same melody as Sonny Boy Williamson's Schoolboy Blues.
Hello, little school girl. Good morning, little school girl. Can I go home? Can I go home? Don't you? Now you can tell your mother and your father that Sonny Boy's a little. I want him to drive me. I want him to drive me downtown.
So, it's easy enough to recognize, but listeners, or we, might or might not draw connections between his desire for a young lover and her loftier aspirations of someone who will drive her all over town, though we can pretty much catch Minnie's euphemism behind the phrase nonetheless. Intertextuality and signifying also gives us a new perspective on understanding cover versions, often interpreted as a songs demanded by recording managers to perpetuate current hits or just lazy songwriters. The thing is, very few cover versions are actually just copies of a previous disc. Usually, changes are made through contrafacture, putting on a new text, changes of musical style, shortening, adding romantic stanzas, personalizing the song with a change of locale or name, such as the very specific reference to Blind Boy Fuller's hometown and state. They'll just use some of the song's lyrics or only a title as a jumping off point. Sometimes, sure, these changes are just songcraft. But any or all of those changes might lend a record a new level of subtext, subversion, understanding, or homage. These deeper meanings might have been intended for public consumption or only to the musicians themselves. I'm sure these records can be enjoyed on their own merits and certainly have been. But understanding their framework in African American verbal and sonic play brings us closer to recognizing additional details about their cultural context and social milieu and the connections of the blues to Black discourse at large. Thank you.